All right. Welcome, everyone, to our second episode of Beyond Horizons, where we expand your mind past what is possible and have guests on that have extraordinary experiences with the other side. So I am very, very super excited to welcome my guest, Luna Ramey. Luna has had experiences with the paranormal. She's a retired paranormal investigator, and she's also a psychic and a tarot reader. So, a lot of experience with the other realms. So, I can't wait to delve into some experiences that you've had, Luna. But thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited and congratulations on the show. I cannot believe I'm your second episode. This is so cool. I'm very honored to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I feel like this is going to be a big show because people are just fascinated with the other side. And some people don't even believe it exists. But I love telling people this analogy where you can't see Wi-Fi, but it exists. You can't see a radio wave, but it exists. And spirits are around us just as much as everything else. Like we coexist with them. Do you believe this can be true?
Absolutely. So being a paranormal investigator and a psychic medium, they're very two separate things, even though some people like to join them together. I like to keep them separate because of skepticism. So being a paranormal investigator, you have to be a skeptic the whole time. Even though I talk to the dead, it's my job to give evidence that people can see, hear, and feel. So if I use my mediumship during investigations, nobody can really say that that's evidence because you can't see what's in my mind. You can't hear and see what I'm seeing. So yes, it is true. Spirits are around us every day, whether you choose to have them there or not. They're always around. And yeah, just some people I think can see them and be more in tune. I think we all have the ability to see them. It's just how far are you willing to open yourself up to have those experiences?
Oh, that's so cool. And can I ask you, how did you get into all of this? What's your story? How did you start seeing spirits?
So actually, it's kind of scary. It's more of a nightmare. So when I was 11 going on 12, my dad had cancer and he was terminal. And, you know, watching a parent die in front of you is massive, especially at that age, because I was right still at childhood before teenager. So, you know, you always thought that nothing bad was ever going to happen. Everything is fairy tales at that age. And so seeing that really opens me up to a lot of things, and witnessing somebody pass away is probably one of the most intimate, sad, but spiritual things that you could ever witness. And having somebody go through that at 11 years old, you don't really understand. So I was raised in religion, Catholicism, and as I grew later on in life, I went more away from religion. So I had my faith at the time that I knew he went to heaven and he was an angel and all that stuff, but something deep down inside of me knew that there's more to it than that. So as a little girl, I kind of became obsessed to where my dad went. And I think it was more of an unhealthy obsession because I just wanted answers. And I think that being with God just wasn't enough for me. You know, so if I back up a little bit, I had experiences. So as my dad was dying, I remember there was one particular moment that really stood out to me that scared me into really not wanting to be a part of this as a kid. But later on, I ended up falling in love with the paranormal. But my mom was driving and I was sitting in the passenger seat and I was just like zoning out, looking at the stores passing by and everything. And I get this image in my head of my dad in a church laying in a casket. And I just instantly was like, oh, I don't want to think that. Like, oh, like that's horrible. And the day of his funeral, we walk into the same church and I see the same casket with my dad laying in it. And I look at my mom and said, I can't be here. So I actually did not attend my dad's viewing because I thought that somehow I was responsible for his death because I actually saw that happening. But as a kid, back then, before the internet, before social media, before all these psychics and mediums felt comfortable to come out, I didn't know that I was having a mediumship in a psychic moment per se. So I was scared. I was really scared and I didn't know. So for the longest time, I kind of blamed myself for that, which I know now is not my fault. As life went on, I realized that I've had all these really random experiences to the point to where I was actually really scared. I would sleep with my head covered at night, just enough of the blanket lifted up just to get air so that I could breathe at night. I always felt that something was staring at me when I was sleeping. I grew up in really haunted houses on top of it, so things would happen that I couldn't explain. Even my sister, my twin sister, she experienced some of the same things as me too. So I know I wasn't going crazy. But at the time I didn't realize it was because I had abilities, right? And I don't think as a kid you could go to your parents. Not that my mom wasn't really a comforting woman, that I wasn't able to go to her, but like, you sound crazy when you tell people that you see things and that you're responsible for your dad's death and that you saw this, like all these things. So for the longest time, I ran from anything. So if we ever drove past a funeral home, I looked away from it. Anytime we went to a cemetery, I chose not to go into one. Scary movies, I stayed very far away from them. I was terrified as a kid because I saw things that I didn't know how to explain and scared me, and it's not necessarily your grandpa or grandma I was seeing creatures and things that most people might consider demonic or scary or shadows in the closet. And as I got older, actually in my late 20s, we'll fast forward a bit because I had so many different experiences. This could be such a long episode, just me going off of my experiences. But when I hit 27, so I'll be 36 this year. So when I hit about 25, 27 years old, my friend in Florida, her name is Katie. She is a spiritual woman herself. And I love that because I was always able to bounce a lot of spiritual stuff off of her because, I was really surrounded by a lot of religious people, which there's nothing wrong with religion. I don't have any issue with it, but for me, it just wasn't vibing, so I wanted to find out more. And so there's this place that I lived in Florida. It's called Casadega, Florida. It's basically a massive spiritualist camp. So what a spiritualist camp is it's basically like just a normal neighborhood, but all people of special abilities live in the neighborhood. So you actually have to like go through like an initiation and like prove that you have abilities to be able to live in this neighborhood. And so her and I went to this area and she signed us up for a bunch of classes like Reiki and like tarot and psychic mediumship classes. And, through that whole weekend, I was able to experience different stuff, but I didn't realize that it was going to change my life. So we went into the psychic mediumship class, and there was a lady who obviously was the head of the class because she looked like a witch. Like, she was crystals everywhere, like the really pretty dress. Like you could just tell by her aura, she was just magic. And we were sitting in the room and we were doing psychic exercises, and I was okay at them. I don't think I was exceeding at any of it, but when it was the mediumship portion of it, she let us know the difference. So mediumship is when you can speak to loved ones on the other side, and psychic is like an ability to see into the future or like be able to play with fire or smoke or move things with your mind. So I was just like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the mediumship. That sounds crazy. But she let us know not everybody is capable of mediumship. So don't be sad if like you can't do it. So I go in there with two people I've never met before. And I was picking up on every single loved one for each one of those people. And I had no idea how I was doing it. They came out crying. And I was like in shock because I was making people cry and I didn't know what was going on. And so the lady approached me, the mentor, and she says, do you know that you have abilities? And I'm like, I don't even know what any of this means. Like, I don't understand. She goes, have you experienced things in your life that you can't explain? I said, yeah, all the time. And she goes, you have something very special about you. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, am I a medium? Like, does this, but I finally find the answers to my childhood. Does this make sense? And so, my friend Katie, love her to death. She says, well, Luna, what are you going to do? And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, you have these abilities. Like, what are you going to do with them? And I said, I don't know. Nobody's going to care what I have to think or say. She literally said the B word. She goes, you won't know until you try. And so from then on out, I went and I started Luna Paranormal LLC. I went and started opening up to mediumship, got into tarot, and it just went from there. It was just an accident. It was a pure accident. But my friend was the one that was like, you just have to try because you just don't know. So that's like my story shortened.
I love that you found a whole town that was like this. We don't have anything like that over here in Australia. How amazing.
Yeah, I think there's one in New York City too. New York and Florida are the only two. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's super cool. And, it's really interesting. I feel a lot of us gifted people that can that can go to the other side or see the other side, have these childhoods where we feel really isolated and really alone. We can't talk to anybody about it. And we think we're weird for the first 10 to even 20 years of our life until we get out there and start connecting with other like-minded people. Thank God for the internet. I mean, a lot of us feel a lot more normal.
I feel like just in the last 5 years, that's just exploded. Like even before I started my business, it wasn't really that big. And TikTok and Instagram, and it's just exploded, that industry. And now we're starting to find each other, you know?
Yes, I feel like there's a big evolution of people that are just fascinated with these spirits, and I feel like we can work in collaboration with these spirits as well. It's not just this realm that's functioning. We've got our soul group, we've got our spirit group, we've got the ones that have passed over, which you would know about, that are around guiding us all the time. And so being able to connect that bridge and be able to be guided by them or just know that they exist and feel them can really help us on our journey, I think. So yeah, I'd love to find out more about this ghost box that you have, because I saw that on your YouTube and I'm like, that is the gnarliest, coolest thing I've ever seen.
You've never seen a spirit box before?
I must be sheltered or something. I've never seen one until I saw your show on YouTube, and I'm like, that is wicked. So yeah, they can speak through the box. I heard them speak through this box. And so can you tell me one of the most freakiest experiences you've had, maybe with that box and going to some places?
You're going to think I'm crazy. Everybody who's watching this is going to think I'm crazy. I use spirit boxes on a daily basis, so I talk to them all the time. So what's interesting is you can get these off of Amazon. So I wish I had my ghost stuff with me, because I've been moving. I just moved into a new house, so all my stuff is everywhere, but you can literally download them on your phone. You can get one. It's called the SB7 spirit box, which is the smaller one, which is the one you probably saw. I also got an old Radio Shack Radio 2 and turned it into a spirit box. I had to open it up and kind of mess with some wires. But basically how a spirit box is supposed to work is that it's a normal AM FM radio, and you speed up the frequency. So basically, you can fast forward or reverse the radio so that that's that white noise sound that you get. So what it's doing is it's picking up on noise from FM and AM stations, but you're not really supposed to listen for the words of the radio. You're supposed to listen in between. So it's really hard at first, but once you get used to it, so it's like, for instance, you're not going to hear cuss words on the radio. So if you hear a cuss word come through, it's most likely not the radio, and if it's pertaining to somewhere where you're at, so let's say the Lizzie Borden house, and you hear the name Lizzie, most likely that's not the radio saying that, but you will every once in a while hear some music or something, and that's the radio. But the craziest thing, for me, it's not really crazy, because I have a spirit that lives in the house. Well, actually, we have two, and I'm trying to figure out what the other one is, because the other one likes to bang on the door really loud. And so I'm trying to figure out what that spirit's issue is. And the other morning, so yesterday morning, I woke up to a spirit taking its finger and poking my leg like this to wake me up, which they know that is a no-no for me. I don't like being touched. That's like a very massive thing for me. And so I turned on the spirit box, because even though I'm a medium, they're not always going to talk to me. It's not like I can always see everything and hear everything. So basically I just turned it on, and my spirit in the house, Edward, he goes, "It's Ed." And I was like, "Hi, Ed." I was like, "Can you tell me who is in here right now?" And he kind of says things from time to time. He'll make jokes, but I had it playing when I was doing tarot. Sometimes I'll do candle work because I'm a witch, I'm a practitioner. And on live, when I'm doing candles, I like to sometimes turn on the spirit box just so that, my viewers can listen to what's going on as well, because my house is haunted. I remember I stood up and walked away one time to use the restroom, and Ed, as loud as possible, goes, "Where are you going?" And like that, as loud as possible. And I was just like, "I'll be right back." And he goes, "Get back here." Like he was saying that to me. And then I also said too, like, "Can you say hi to everybody on the internet?" He goes, "Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching." Is just like that, plain as day. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So the spirit box is very cool. Very cool. I love the spirit box. But like I said, you always have to be skeptical of them too. especially when it comes to the applications on your phone and stuff. You never know if it's reading the GPS signal of where you're at, so that it will spit out words based on the GPS location you're in. There's a lot of stuff with technology you have to be very skeptical of. But like I said, just listen for things that make sense to what you're saying. If you always hear like, hello, how are you? I kind of really don't listen to that, because I almost feel like that's filtered in from the app, and it's meant to say that every once in a while. So you always want to be skeptical. But I think the tried and true is just an old radio, and you just make it yourself. And that's the best one, because nobody's going to mess with it. Nobody's going to tamper with it.
Yeah. Wow. And so what do you find when you're communicating with these spirits? Do you find that they want to be passed on? Are they in distress? Like, what's the main theme? Are they just lonely? What's going on with them?
It's so interesting. Every spirit is different. And, when a spirit wakes me up, like poking me yesterday, I figured they wanted something. They wanted either me to help them move on, which for me, spiritually, I don't really believe in, heaven necessarily. I believe there is an afterlife, but I don't think it's necessarily maybe what the Bible states, which if somebody believes that, by all means, like, please believe that, because everybody's spiritual path is intimate to each other. So I can't tell you what to believe. You shouldn't tell me what to believe. But for me, with the stuff I've seen, it's kind of hard for me to go back to what I used to believe after all the stuff I've seen. Some spirits will say prayer or pray, and I'll be like, you want me to pray for you and send you to the other side? Some will say the light, and that will just kind of let me know. And I basically just tell them, you look up, go to the light, go to your family. They're waiting for you. I don't necessarily believe all spirits are stuck. I don't think that that's necessarily, I feel like if you die in a very tragic state, maybe a car accident, or unaware that you passed away, you might be confused for a minute as to what's going on. But I think eventually your guides are going to help you get to the other side. I do believe that there is a lot, and I think this is probably 90% of them, your loved ones. So let's say, your husband passes away and you're young, right? He might choose to stay on this side until you're gone, until you've lived your life. You know what I'm saying? And then they'll pass with you. So I see a lot of loved ones will keep one foot in and one foot on the other side, because they're just not ready to leave their family yet. So I think that is more common than anything than being stuck. I do believe that there are places like asylums, old hospitals, where they used to torture people and do like lobotomies and really awful things to people, that evil energy, that sad energy is stuck within the walls. So sometimes I feel that those spirits' energies are there, and I feel like it's just a rip in time where those certain things are stuck. So I believe if it's something extremely tragic, I believe that they can be. But I think every spirit has the right to go when they're ready. I think most just want to wait because they miss their family.
Yeah, I've had quite a few experiences with spirits myself, and I find, just from my experience, it's almost like there's a fractal of them that's stuck. It's not the whole spirit. So when you're saying there's trauma, or there's, in the asylum, it's like that, it's just a fractal or a part of them, or the emotion of that person that's stuck in those walls. Yeah, I do a lot of soul retrieval, so I see fragments shot off from people in time and space at different times, and I feel like this could be a lot of the stuck spirits, because you find them at massacre sites. Sometimes you find them at murder sites. There's that fractal there, and I find that they like to be passed on, those fractals, especially from those spots. So yeah, it's really fascinating, isn't it? I love that, some stay around to continue supporting and helping. And so, yes, do you help people with their loved ones? Do you help bridge that gap?
So it's so interesting. When I first started my mediumship, I had a lot of people that came for mediumship. Now it's not that popular. Now, what I mean by that is that almost everyone now does it. And there's a lot of frauds and a lot of fakes, and a lot of people have kind of woke up to it. So they're very hesitant to spend the money, because when you get a mediumship reading, they tend to be a little bit more on the expensive side. For one, as you know, mediums, it takes a lot out of us. It's not easy to contact loved ones. Like, I physically get very exhausted and tired and sick when I talk to loved ones. So my prices might be a little higher, but people, yes, I have helped them, but they're not so much open to mediumship as they used to be, because of all the fraudulent people that are out there and the scammers. It's become a little bit less popular. And even some of the bigger mediums that you see on TV nowadays have been debunked, unfortunately, as frauds. And that's really sad. So a lot of people have kind of steered away from it, unfortunately. Some people have ruined it for us, real mediums.
Right.
But so I've stopped offering for family members, but I will always keep myself open to cold cases, working with police, working with anyone in missing people. I will always be more than welcome to volunteer my time to help with those cases. And if a loved one comes through and wants to say something, I'm going to say it, as long as the other person's comfortable with it. So yes and no. It's just not as popular for me anymore. I don't know about you though. Do you help a lot of people?
Yes. So I work in the dimensions a lot, but my main focus isn't, I don't call myself a medium or a psychic actually, but it comes through in the sessions. So I will connect a lot of people to their passed over ones, if they're coming through. So I do a lot of healing with the soul, which means taking them through, their own trauma and their own experiences. They might be missing their father or their mother. They've got unhealed things that they haven't said. So I will connect them with the ones that have passed over so that they can say what they need to say and have that closure, or just that knowing that they're there around them. So I connect people a lot to their spirit guides, but that could be animal guides, that could be ancestors from way past, that could be just random spirit guides that are around, that are from thousands of years ago that follow us. So we don't just have our soul group. We have guides, especially when you start working in the spirit realms and you are, say a witch, or you're a psychic, or you're a healer. Especially being a healer, you start working with these ancient spirits. And I've had a lot of contact with these ancient spirits on the land, like 1,000-year-old Aboriginal men
So
or
cool.
American men coming through, and that's amazing. That's what I've learned from everything that I've learned actually comes from the spirits. So when I was younger and little, I grew up in outback Australia, and I would go and sit on the land, and I just thought it was normal. They would come up to me, these big ancient spirits, and they would teach me about calling on the energies and the directions, and how to do magic and what happened in the earth and all of these things. And my mother used to say I'd just be always off in the corner chatting to somebody who wasn't there.
I love that. I bet Australia has so many ancient deities, spirits, elementals. I can only imagine the natives over there as well. I can only imagine the types of spirits and what they look like over there. I'm sure it's just breathtaking.
Yes, we see a lot of it in the Aboriginal paintings and the First Nations paintings. So one of the ones I used to see a lot when I was younger were these big, tall, black tree spirits, and they were as tall as the trees, and they'd poke around and they'd whisper from the trees, and they'd sort of sound like the wind. But then I would interpret the wind into what it actually meant, and they were the ones that would come and sit near me and talk to me. And then I'd have the tree spirits, and I was seeing all of these ancient spirits when I was younger, and it made me feel so safe out there. It made me feel I didn't really like people. That was like my home, all these spirits.
That's so crazy that you said that, because I've seen tree spirits before, the ones that are like 80 feet tall. I've seen them before, and most people think I'm crazy when I say that, but now that you said that, I'm like, oh my God, she's seen them too.
I love that. I love when we do these conversations and these missing bits come in. It happens every time. I love it. It's such a empowerment and a confirmation. I love that you saw them. Yeah, I'm getting shivers all over. Did they say anything? Did you feel
and then fairies and them. Honestly, they're very daunting to me. The tree spirits. I never really tried to communicate with them, because I know that trees are very old, and the stories that they hold. And I thought that just what I was feeling is they were the protectors of the trees, that they were guarding. It's almost like the trees were still their family. It's like they're protecting them and helping them grow. I just didn't really bug them, but when I looked up and I was like, oh my God, they're freaking huge. And it's scary because it's like you feel like they could step on you, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's crazy. So I never pushed that communication with them, because it almost felt like they were like, in England, how they have the guards standing outside of, the official guards. That's almost what it felt like to me. So I was like, I didn't want to push it because, but man, they are daunting. They're scary, but they're also beautiful. And it was
Yeah.
very trippy. Same thing with fairies. Fairies freak me out. Yeah. I woke up to fairies in my room one time. And it was so strange. Like, I was sleeping and I thought, like how Tinkerbell sounds with the little bells, like her little Tinkerbell sound.
Mhm.
I had woke up to hearing Tinkerbells, and I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, what is going on? And I was like, no, I didn't. I fell asleep and I heard it again. I was like, okay, I heard that. And there was like in my room, I heard the little bells tinkling around in my room. And I'm like, why are you in here? Like, and then I just kind of meditated on it, and they're just chilling. They set up their little home in the corners on my shelves, and they're just chilling, doing their thing. I was like, just don't steal any of my jewelry and we'll be okay. But they were just chilling in my room. Why? I don't know. I still
These
don't know to this day, but
chimes.
I heard them.
Yeah, I've heard these. So I've passed over a few times through incidences. And when I've passed over, these beings will come down and talk to me, but I hear these chimes and these bells every time. And I'm wondering if it's that access to the fairy realm or the spirit realm, because usually a spirit will come and talk to me and say, it's not your time, or do this to get out of the situation. Or, yeah, I always hear that music first, like these beautiful, yeah, I guess like almost silver spoon wind chimes or something. That's what
Yeah.
it's like to
Hmm.
me. Or even glass
Yeah.
wind chimes, not wood ones, but that real tinkly, chimey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've heard that too.
Yeah. Peaceful. It's interesting. I had one time where I almost crossed over, and it was actually my dad. And my dad looked at me and said, it's not your time yet. And that's when I woke up in the hospital. So it's interesting that they told you it's not your time yet, because that was the same exact words that my dad used on me. And I was like, wait, what? I remember waking up and the nurse was like, oh, there you are, you're back. And like, my boyfriend at the time was like crying, like, oh my gosh, you're not brain dead, you're okay. And I'm like, I just saw my dad. And the nurse was like, what? And I was like, he's not here anymore. Like, I just saw my dad. And she was like petting my head. She's like, it's okay. Like, I think she knew, being a nurse and trauma, that it was like, that's so normal. But that's the first thing I woke up and said was like, I just saw my dad. Like, like I didn't even care I almost died. It was just like, I just was talking to like a relative on the other side, which was like crazy. So it's interesting that you hear bells and stuff. I wonder if I was like having a moment where I was going in and out of the realms when I was sleeping, which totally possible for me, because dreams are massive for me. I have poetic, what is it called? Prophetic dreams, where
Mhm.
you see the future. My dreams are insane. So it's very possible I could have, but
Definitely the gateway, definitely a gateway into those other realms when you're dreaming and you're gifted. I'd love to know a little bit more about when you were crossing over, because, yeah, these near-death experiences, what did you see when that was happening? So you saw your father. What was your experience when it was happening? If you broke it down, can you remember it?
um, So I was in a car accident. I was T-boned from this side, and my body smashed into the center console. So my hip was shattered. I broke like every rib in my body. And I remember coming in and out of consciousness with the EMS. They had like something over my face because they were shattering the windshield to try to get me out, because the car was just mangled. And I remember looking over because I thought I was awake, and my dad was sitting in the passenger seat. Of course, my dad hasn't been here for a long time. And he was just talking to me. He said, it's going to be okay. And he kept saying really like positive things. And he looked at me, and it felt like I was still in the car accident waiting for the EMS to get me out. And it was like very bright. I just remember everything was really white and just so bright, but I was still sitting in the car. And it felt like it was all of like 15 to 20 seconds, you know, but I know it took longer than that. And as soon as he said, he goes, honey, it's not your time yet. And I woke up, I was in the hospital. I wasn't even in the car. So I went from the situation of the car accident to then in the hospital. So I know it wasn't 15 seconds. It had to be longer than that. But on the other side, time just doesn't work like it does. Time doesn't exist on the other side. So for me, that was my extent, but I know it had to have been hours, because getting me out of the car, taking me to the hospital, like there's just no way. So that still freaks me out to this day, to be like, how was I only in the car for like 15 seconds, you know?
I love that you say this, because that happened to me too. I've had a drowning episode. I've had, yeah, a strangulation episode where I was getting strangled over and over again, kept passing over, coming back, passing over, coming back. And all that seemed like that was only a minute, but that was 5 hours because I was in the spirit world so much. And you're so right. It's like a second or 15 seconds, or you're up in the spirit world and they're like, it's not your time. Hey, how you going? Nice to see you. It's great up here, isn't it? But go back. And then half an hour's gone, hours have gone. That's amazing you say that. Yes.
Yeah, it's so crazy, because it's like when everybody's so afraid of dying, I'm not,
Yeah.
because you don't even know. It's just like, it's so peaceful. And it was like, I think the one thing, it's just warm, and it just like, there was no care in the world. Like, even though I was in excruciating pain, I wasn't in that moment, you know, everything was just peaceful. It's just it's so interesting. You and I have a lot in common. So not, I never really bring this up because I don't want to bring down the mood or anything, but I am a survivor of domestic violence. I was almost murdered at 18 years old. And I was actually almost choked to death. So you and I have almost the same thing. And, it was interesting. I could have easily, but I played dead in that situation. So I don't think I passed away in that situation. But it's interesting that you say that, because it's almost like something happens where you cut the circulation off, obviously, between here and here. So who knows what happens with your mind in that situation. And, that's a very scary thing to go through. But it's so interesting that you said that you were choking and coming in and out of consciousness. That's so crazy.
Passing over. So he was trying to do the job, and I don't care if this is dark because we're going to talk about this stuff, but he kept trying to do the job, and I would literally pass over. So I would get, everything slows down and turns red. Everything comes to a halt. I see the tunnel. I see the light. Everything gets all warm and beautiful. The chimes come in. I start passing through. I start going to the other side. My spirit guides are there. Big guides, like big rainbow guides, are there. I call them the Akashics. My family's there. Even animal guides, they're all there. And I remember just I remember looking down and seeing my body and seeing what was going on as well, multiple times. And then it's like my spirit would just shoot back into my body, and I'd be in the situation again, because they'd say, no, it's not your time. Boom, back again. And then he'd be like, what? And then try again. And then I would, go off again. And then because I just had this fighting spirit as well. And like, no, a couple of times I remember going, fuck this. And I'd go back. Yeah. It was wild. It was like a movie, threw me through a wall. Like, yeah, it was crazy. But I sort of love that experience, because there's a silver lining on everything. I'm like, had another, that death experience was before that. But I'm invincible. I literally feel invincible, and I know that I'm here for a reason, because the odds are, if I keep getting told it's time to go back, you haven't finished what you need to do. And I'm like, God damn it, yes, nothing can take me out. I'm not scared of anything anymore at all. I have no fear. Like, I'm just here to rock it and have a good time. And that is a good thing that I took away from it. It's just like, bring it on. Like, I love life. I love every moment that I've got here.
I'm glad you're still here, though.
Yeah, me too.
Terrifying. Oh my goodness. That's scary, but I'm so glad that you're here, because obviously there is still stuff for you to do. And I love that. I love how, and the thing is too, when you're in the spiritual realm, so like, astral projection, when people purposely bring themselves out, I always tell people don't do it because it's so dangerous. When you put yourself in that other side, when you're not supposed to be there, they know it, and really bad things can happen on the other side. So, it's interesting how they'll force you back and say it's not your time, but then the ones who try to force themselves on the other side end up hurt or can be in danger in the spiritual realm. So it's so
Yeah, I
interesting.
think, yeah, you definitely need to do it with a practitioner. So I take people to the other side, but it's done through a shamanic practice, through an ancient practice, and is very guarded and
Mhm.
protected, and it's done in a certain way. It has to be done that certain way because you're right, because entities can jump in, anyone, like you're at risk. So you have to be trained how to do it properly, work with your guides, work with the energy. So yeah, it's definitely a whole nother world over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What else do I want to ask you? So when you're doing your tarot, do you find when you're doing tarot that spirits come through then as well?
Oh, yeah. They never stop talking ever. Yeah, when I pull out my tarot cards and stuff, they'll, if I pull out a card and it's supposed to mean something specifically, spirit will be like, well, you got to tell them this too. And I'll be like, okay. So, it's almost like it just flows through me, the messages, and people always be like, wow, that's so like spot on. That's great. And I'm like, that's wonderful. That means spirit's doing good. I'm always like, high five, spirit. You're doing good, because I'm just the messenger. But it's quite amazing how this can be a tool to talk to them. I think anybody can talk to them. I think it's one thing about reading the definitions of tarot, which is just a very cold reading, but just feel the cards and just allow things to move through you. And I think that's so beautiful because I think anybody can talk to you through these cards. Just takes practice and opening yourself up to it. But yeah, spirit is always talking, and tarot happens to be just one of those things where just they talk so easy through it for me. And I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Do you find you learn things every time you do it as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes a card that I typically will pull will mean something, won't even be that in a reading. And I'm like, why did you say that? And the person's like, oh my God, that's true. And I'm like, what is going on? But it's just like sometimes it's not me reading them. Most of the time it's not. It's always spirit. And I always give all of my love and respect to them, because the only reason I can do what it is I do is for one, the people, my clients, and two, them. Everything that I get, all messages that I get, feelings are from them. It's not from me. I'm just a vessel for the
Yeah.
messages.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. So if anyone wanted to connect with their loved ones, or they want to try sort of connecting to the other world or the other realms, have you got any advice?
Well, if you don't want to open yourself up spiritually, like your third eye and your crown chakra is going to be really important for raising your vibrations to realms. So the way I like to think of it is like the realms are like lines on paper, So here's our realm, and then your loved ones here, and then it just goes higher and higher and higher up to extraterrestrial, and then you've got lower level as well. So in order to reach your loved ones, you're sitting here on this plane, but you've got to be able to reach your energy high. They don't come to you. So you have to be able to practice to do that. So if you're not willing to go through that journey and open yourself up to that, you can just use a typical spirit box. You could use, I hate to say this, you could use a Ouija board. I'm not a biggest fan of people just playing with them though. They're not a toy, even though Hasbro says they are. They're not a toy. I would say a spirit box is really good as well. And then it's very simple too. I always tell people just ask for a sign. Like if you're just like, hey, mom or dad, if you think I should do this career choice, can you just show me like a red balloon at some point today? And if you think it's a bad idea, show me a blue Corvette. Don't make it something you see every day, like a Starbucks, or like a Chick-fil-A. Like make it something that you would still see like blue flowers or something, and just they'll talk to you. You just have to open up and just really give them the opportunity to give you those messages. There's very many different ways. I just feel that even if you ask them at night to like, hey, come to my dreams and talk to me, most of the time they will. They're always around you listening, and most of the time they are leaving you messages. You're just not paying attention.
And I love that you say, this is what I was talking on my other podcast, the lines on the paper. It is like
Mhm.
that, the realms of existence. And this is what the esoteric teachings show as well. It's the planes. We've got different planes and there's different things
Mhm.
existing on those different planes. And then the underworld as well, which is cool. Like
Mhm.
delving in the underworld a little bit.
Mhm. Oh, I love the underworld. The underworld's amazing. I consider myself a gray walker, so I go both ways.
Me
So,
too.
mhm.
Yeah. So, okay. Can I ask an experience with the underworld? What do you feel that is, and sort of what experiences? What do you do in there?
So for me, it's demons, lower level entities, what people consider demons. They don't really have a name, and I don't think it is demon. But that's what we call it because that's like a very spiritual term for it. I will tell people that demons really don't want anything to do with us. So a lot of people think that demons are out to get us, and that's really not necessarily true. They would rather you leave them alone just as much as they don't want anything to do with us. I think that there are some that have a chip on their shoulder that, do want to hurt people, but I find that very rare. A lot of my spiritual work, spell work, has to be done sometimes through lower level entities because let's face it, they get the job done. You know what I'm saying? They get the job done. And it's not because they're bad. I think that you could look at everything as good and evil, but what makes something evil and what
Yeah.
makes something good?
Yeah.
There is a time and place for the white spirits, the white light energies, but there's also a time and place for the lower level energies, the ones that dish out karma. Your white light energies are not going to do that. It's always going to be the lower level. So most of my spiritual work comes from the lower level. And I'm not talking about Satan, I'm not talking about like horrible things. I don't do horrible things to people, but there is a time and place for each energy. And I also have to specify this too. There is no such thing as white magic, light magic, dark magic, green magic. Magic is magic. It's all about what's in here that you put out that makes it necessarily good or bad. So I think the entities that you use don't mean bad or good. It just means they get the job done one way or the other. So, like I said, most of the time when I bug them, they don't want me to. But most of the time I'm just like, hey, I just need some karma dished out for somebody who hurt somebody really bad. I don't want you to hurt them, but we need some karma. Maybe their tire blows out, or maybe they lose their job, or maybe, they trip on something, and the energies are like, okay, we can help with that, so
Yeah.
with them too.
Sorry?
You find that with the lower level energies too, they just get stuff done.
I don't know how to swear. You can't swear on here, can you? I just love that. I love that. It's so true. And I've never heard that before. But I find a lot of the elemental spirits are lower level spirits that I use that or ones that are part of the land that have been very old as well. So I feel like the lower levels are more grounded into this reality and they can transmute it easier. That they can pull things into the physical a lot
Mm-hmm.
easier than up there. I find they're good for guidance and insights and things like that in the higher planes. But yeah, the lower planes are the ones that can bring it into the physical, definitely.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think about it for a second, like native land, where natives, like just Native American in general, any tribe that where their ancestors have been buried and been forgotten, and then people start building houses and businesses on top of it, and then all of a sudden they have these horrible hauntings, horrible things are happening. Do you think that that's the natives, really angelic spirits, or do you think it's their lower level ones that are protecting this ground and making stuff happen? And when you come onto their land, who do you think's protecting it? It's the lower level energies. You know what I'm saying? It's not the higher ones. So when people think lower level energies, they're like, oh my gosh, Luna works with demons. No, I don't. I work with spirits, and there's spirits that will get it done, and there's some that won't. And there's some that are meant for protection and karma and, getting things done. And there's ones that are meant for love and light and nurturing mother energy. And there's just a difference between the two. And a lot of natives will work with I'm not going to speak for them, but, with the energies that will get stuff done. That's why a lot of these energies will stick around for hundreds and thousands of years protecting land.
Yes, and you're so right. I'm getting goosebumps everywhere. So I've had a lot of experiences with guardians of certain places on the land. I've walked a lot of country and I've sat down and talked to these guardians. Even in the last house that I was living, there was a guardian of the hill there, and he was an ancient native man that came into the house, and he decided he wanted to protect me from my ex, who was a bit volatile, to be honest, and unstable. So he was of the lower planes, but he would move, he would throw books out of the bookshelf, or send him crazy, or do what he had to do to exit him from the house. And he was definitely of the lower planes, but I felt very protected by him. He was very old and he got stuff done.
Yep. But he didn't hurt him. That's the thing, not every single lower level energy hurts people. Like for me, my magic, I will never hurt somebody else. That is not ever my intention. If I hurt somebody, then I'm doing something wrong, because I am a very pure soul and I just want people to see karma. That's the difference. So for me, if there's a lower level energy that's like, let's let him get hit by a bus, and I'm like, no, we're not working with you. You need to stay over.
Yes,
we're not trying to hurt people like that. Okay. Because you will get lower level energies every once in a while that are just like off with their head. And you're like, no, you stay over there. You over there.
Yes, I know those ones. Yeah.
But for the most part, they're just protectors. Most of your spirit guides, I mean, mine in general, are lower level energies because they're my protectors. And that's what they do. And I love lower level energies. We need to give more love to them, but unfortunately, religion puts a bad light on lower level energies, and everybody thinks they're demons, which they're not. But
that's true magic. You can't do magic without the light and the dark. Like that's the alchemy. You've got to work in both realms, really, to create true magic. And we know when we're working in these realms, we know that we get bad karma, or we get it sent back to us if we do anything that is wrong or morally wrong, or it does come back. So it's funny. So I don't know if you get this, but it's like every man that I meet says, "Are you putting a spell on me?" Ugh. Do you get that at all? I'm so sick of hearing that.
Yeah, there's some people that my husband's like, whatever you did, I'm cool with it. He just goes with it. I love my husband. So he's hilarious. But yes, most of the time I get, you're intimidating. You're extremely intimidating. People are a little afraid of me sometimes. And I'm okay with that. Because I don't want people to feel comfortable enough to take advantage of me. I also want to add to the good and evil balance. No person, I'm not, you're not, is all good. There's good and bad in all of us. We're all capable of doing that. I've done things that I regret in life. I'm sure you have. So when people think about lower level energies, I'm like, don't think of them like that, because you were exactly like them too. You fall on both sides. So there's not one energy on this earth that is all angelic and pure. It doesn't exist.
Light and the dark. We're a balance of the light and the dark. Yeah. I absolutely love this conversation. I've learned so much just from us talking together. It's so cool. Yeah. So do you have like a daily practice? Do you use your witchcraft daily? Is there something that you do or you've been working on?
Oh my gosh. So daily. So candles are my thing. I make candles. I burn different candles. I do tarot on the daily. It's almost like every single little ritual I do is all just witchy stuff throughout the day. So it's like really hard to explain, but like when I'm brushing my hair, I'm putting intention into my hair. I just recently cut off all my own hair by accident, but it let go of a lot of bad energy. When I'm putting lotion on, I'm putting intention on, sparkles. So, any type of glitter is attracting spirit. Spirit is attracted to glitter, which helps you. So a lot of my candles will have glitter on them to help spirit be attracted. So you have the glitter that I wear, any of the stuff that I talk. Sometimes I'll do a lot of whispering. It's something called the whisper method, which is a type of manifestation. So sometimes when I'm making breakfast or I'm sitting and doing something, I'll always just start whispering, if I need help with something or do something different. Every day. I mean, this is what I do for a living. So it's like every day is like something different, anytime I do something, the way I stir my coffee, like
So it's all
every
intention and movement. It's all, everything can be a spell, really. I think
yeah.
that's what we forget in life too, the intention and the ritual and the practice. Everything can be a spell, even our words. That's why they call it spelling. Like that is spell
Mhm.
coming out when we speak and creating a reality there. Mm.
My whole life has turned completely 180, opening myself up to the craft and being part of Mother Nature, Mother Earth, having to speak manifestations. Manifesting is so massive to being successful in life. And I don't mean this. This isn't success. It's the other things around you. Abundance comes in. And I'm going to tell you, once I started like changing the way that I lived, the way that I thought, the manifestations, my whole life is more abundant than I could have ever wished for like 5 or 10 years ago, where I was lost. So if anybody ever feels lost or not sure what they should do, just start thinking positive, one thing at a time. Just change your day to positivity. Just talk to yourself, whisper to yourself, bring your manifestations to reality. Start doing things that you love. Don't care about what people think about you. Because I'm telling you, I'm living proof that your whole life can just flip upside down for the better. And then now I get to help people along that path and teach them how to do it. And then the successes that they get. It's real. It's all real. And it all starts with the spirits around you and how to talk to them and how to connect to them. It's
Yeah.
I sound like such a crazy person right now.
No, not to my audience and not to me. That's all I've ever worked with as well. And yeah, similar, same with me. I've changed my whole life around and help people with that too. And it's about dealing with the trauma that's happened and being able to come into a higher plane of existence, which is through connection to the other realms, through, like you're saying, spelling, talking, your positive affirmations, because we're the center of our reality. Like we're the center of our universe, and everything that radiates out of here creates a reality around us. So yeah, I can see how that completely can change your whole reality with every intention and every thought. And yeah, amazing.
To
Um,
not sound like a crazy person, but I tell this to all my clients. You're metaphorically given a book and a pen in life when you're born, and you are the author of your story. You are meant to write your beginning, middle, and end. And once you give that book away, you no longer have power over your life. So I always tell people, keep your book close, keep it tight, and make sure you write how you want your life to go. We have control of everything in life. We are the
yeah.
author. So
Yes, that's exciting. Amazing. Well, this has been such an awesome chat. We've covered some really, really cool topics. If anyone wants to find you, connect with you, work with you, where can they find you? Where's the best place?
So you can find me on TikTok under Spooky Luna. There's about 100 different profiles, so make sure you find the one that's got about 45,000 followers.
Wow.
There's one on Instagram, Spooky Luna, the same thing, so you can find me there. So yeah, you can just connect to me. Also Facebook too, Luna Ramey. You can find me there as well. I don't really have a website per se. I do under those profiles, but it's like a link tree type of thing that you guys can go to and find readings and stuff. So if you guys want to get a reading from me, I am live Tuesday through Saturday daily at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on TikTok under Spooky Luna, under the name. So you'll be able to see me there. And then you can always email me to lunaparanormal1111@gmail.com. So you guys can email me too. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. Everybody, let's get into the other ones.
And my paranormal show. You guys can find me on YouTube under Finding Unknown on YouTube. You can see me and my husband paranormal. You can find me there too. So tons of places to find me.
Amazing. I love that you're living this spiritual adventure out there.
Yeah,
Because
it's
life
amazing.
can be exciting, life can have dimensions to it. It doesn't have to be the plain Jane boring in and out day. We can have magic, we can have spirits, we can have manifestations, we can have tarot, we can have it all. So yeah, you're a great
I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much. Thanks for being on here. It's been an amazing conversation, and hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you. It was truly an honor.
Thank you.